Morning, day two, my live video streams here. Still determining where I'm going to put this long term. But today's live video is on the fundamentals of domain valuation. One of the toughest things in the industry. Because if it was easy, you'd be making money. I'd be making money, lots of money, right? I mean, you'd get on, you'd go to any auctions and the auction sites, and you'd buy the domain, and guess what? You turn around and sell it. Arbitrage. One of the most difficult aspects of the domain industry. And the reason why is the complications in determining that value. So I did my podcast this morning. If you haven't checked it out, check it out, chriszuiker.com/podcast. And it was on the three pillars of domain, like the value of a domain name, how to determine the value of a domain name. So the first one is this, it's raw equity. There's raw equity that's inherently built into your domain name. And the reason is the equity of just the value of that keyword, okay? And you can see that there's equity in this keyword, in the raw equity, but you can see it by the amount of searches that are done for that keyword. So for example, I'm gonna actually pull it up as I'm talking here because I keep on forgetting what it is. Keep on forgetting it. The example is quilt.com. I'm using estabat.com. I think it is a good tool. I think it gives them some direction as far as the raw equity. And there's 49,500 monthly searches for this keyword. Exact match searches, okay? If you go to the broad searches, there's 4 million searches for this keyword. The exact match, people are willing to spend $1, or companies are willing to spend $1.41 to advertise on that keyword, okay, with the CPC, PPC, I get it mixed up. CPC, cost per click. So, raw equity. People are willing to spend that for that keyword, okay? It's the momentum that a keyword has in our language, the trends that's being used. You think of like Bitcoin, like what people would have spent for Bitcoin. Actually, they did spend for Bitcoin in millions of dollars back when Bitcoin was going from like 100 all the way up. That's the equation that you're going to use. You're going to use search volume. You're going to use the CPC, and there's like 20 other different little factors that kind of come up and go down based on the overture ranking. Could be based on the brandability. Is it positive? Is it negative? The trend of the industry. How long is the domain name? How many words is the domain name? You know, if it's more words, obviously, even though you have a lot of search, it goes down because of the complexity that it brings. From there, the next pillar is brand equity. Now, brand equity is the life that other brands have already built into this keyword. Okay, by default, brand equity is going to show up in raw equity, but it's going to be like, I can guarantee you that Quilt just in amongst itself is that raw equity is, there's more than just the brand equity, okay? But there's some domains that just have brand equity, okay? The raw equity is maybe nothing, maybe a couple $1,000, but because a brand came and has built their empire on this keyword, well, guess what? They breathe life into that, and that life is what you call brand equity. Okay, so it's the trust, the loyalty, the goodwill, the millions of dollars maybe they've spent advertising this. Now, the beauty is when you get high raw equity and you get good brand equity, and brand equity is very difficult to define. It's going to be defined based on maybe an ROI with how big the companies are in the industry. There's several domains we're brokering that have 10, 15 companies or even more companies that are all in the like advertising and saying, hey, we are this brand. Okay, there's Bloom, there's Arcadia, wallstreet.com, many more, Trunk, brand equity. So how many brands are out there? How much money have they raised? What's the equity that they have into it? That's going to be an important part. And I think that's the most difficult aspect of the automated tools, and sometimes where they get that wrong is that they can't put that finger on brand equity because it's very elusive, and it's something you just have to research to find out. And then there's the third pillar called perceived equity. Okay, perceived equity is what a startup can come in and they see that they can build on this brand. Now, perceived equity is almost impossible to put a number on, okay? So, but there is people out there who they will price their domain names at some like ridiculous value because they're going after only the people that have perceived equity. Okay, perceived equity is think about it like this. You have a serial entrepreneur, someone that's built 3 or 4 businesses, and guess what? Like, they know that they sold their last business for $1 billion. And so they're saying, hey, listen, I sold my last 3 businesses for $1 billion. Well, hey, to spend $1 million on this domain name, although the raw equity may be worth $100,000, $150,000, there's not really much brand equity out there that maybe raises to $200,000, $250,000. But I'm willing to spend $1 million because I realize that $1 million is going to be worth $50 to $60 million by the time I'm done. And oh, by the way, I've got $1 billion, so it's not a problem. Okay, perceived equity. Now you think about this in Ring.com. Ring.com, they spend $1 million on Ring, the domain Ring.com. Okay, I'm sorry, the company Ring.com spent $1 million on the domain Ring.com. But he's valued that at like over $50 million when he sold it for $1 billion to Amazon. Now, if you're anywhere in retail, you know that Amazon could have picked the phone up, called up China and said, hey, knock me off every single product in a week, and we're going to go head-to-head with Ring.com with their own brand. And they could have done that overnight. No problem. They could have put $1 billion into marketing that. But here's the thing that Ring.com had. They had momentum and equity, and they had a solid foundation, a solid user base, and I wouldn't say they were necessarily the category king, but they were close to the category king as far as the share that they had in the marketplace. Okay. So perceived value, he was worth $50 million. He was saying, and this is his first rodeo going through this, but what do you think next time as he builds his next company? What do you think he's going to do? He's going to be like, hey, last time that $1 million purchase was worth $50 million for me easily. Okay. Not including the other intangibles. He's going to most likely put money down to get the best position he possibly can. Now, also think about this in real estate, perceived value. You have a plot of land, let's say 20 acres. A real estate developer comes along to you and says, hey, I'll give you, maybe it's a premium on the market because I can put 40 houses in this. I've done this multiple times in multiple cities. And it's a good property. Okay, so they're going to give you maybe above and beyond what it's worth. Maybe you don't even have it on the market yet, right? And so there's not a price out there for this property. That's the perceived value. Now, if someone else comes along, a person comes along and says, hey, I want to buy this property because I want to put a barn up. And by the way, I'm going to raise cattle and some horses, maybe some sheep and chickens. Okay, perceived value. They're going to offer less for that domain name. Now, what the difficulty is that for domain owners is that they may get a offer in the millions of dollars and think, hey, this is what my domain name is worth. But the problem is that that's such an outlier on the perceived value. Okay, when you look at the other fundamentals, it's not there. And so they hold out, and they never see another offer on that again because I don't say it's greed, okay, because it's not greed. I don't want to paint domain owners in that light, but it's a misunderstanding of it as an asset. Okay, where can you take that? Where can you take that money and leverage it somewhere else to make more money? The time value of money. So once a person who had a one-word domain, and he had $3 million offer. I don't just coincidence here, but $3 million offer on this domain name, and guess what? He turned it down. Not even to see a high six-figure offer again. I think the domain was worth maybe mid to low 6 figures. Once again, I'm not sharing the domain names because I don't think it's right. It's my personal conversations with these people. I take that confidential, and I don't want to make their domain look in any bad light. Okay, so that is perceived value. Now, having said this, going on almost 10 minutes here, you can see the difficulty in determining the value for a domain name. Part of it comes with experience. You have a niche or an industry. Maybe it's .co, maybe it's .io, maybe it's .ai. Maybe it's a specific area and you've just got the repetition to know, okay, listen, that domain is worth a certain range. Now, I talk about this certain range in one of our blog posts that I created. I think it was like domains as an asset. Check it out at mediaoptions.com. And it's that most small business hobbyists, they're going to spend $2,000 to maybe $7,000 on a domain name. Okay, you get up into the small business, let's say it's a local business, they may spend, or maybe it's a regional business, they may spend up to $25,000 on their domain name. Okay, that's kind of that sweet spot. Okay, then when you go to, let's say, move beyond region, maybe to local region. So let's say like 3 or 4 cities. Okay, so when you go bigger region to a couple different states, they may spend $100,000 on a domain name. Then when you go to kind of your scalable startup, they may spend, in your Bible startup, it's a nationwide, they may spend 150 to 350 on that domain. Okay. So there's different ranges and different buckets to domain, what companies will spend. And if you can determine, okay, this domain goes in that bucket, okay, that gives you another data source for resources and what people are just, willing to spend. Okay. Then there's a lot more complications as far as visibility, but that's for a different conversation, different day, different dollar, different holla. I hope you enjoyed this live video today, day 2. And if you got any value from it, share it up.